4 o'clock, so we'll ask for rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody, to the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. We're now in full swing, having had our first meeting a couple of weeks ago. Just to look over the agendas, we will have the Police Department and their requests, and the Fire Department, and then the Westport Community Schools, the Council on Aging, and Information Technology. I don't know, is anybody here from Information Technology?
Not
You
gonna
handle
make it,
that.
no.
Okay. Tim knows all about that anyway. Approve minutes, and then I did promise Melissa that we would talk about the next meeting. Melissa Pacheco, and I understand she will be here, but she had a request to talk about it because this Thursday doesn't work well for her, but I know we've had this for some time, but I'm flexible, but I don't know about the rest of you and your schedules. But anyway, we'll talk about that anyway. So, why don't we take this just out of order to get it out of the way, is the approval of the minutes. These are the minutes of November 21st. They're prepared by Mr. Hartnett, who does an exemplary job on minutes, among other things.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on these minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. I'm doing the minutes today, so I've got to write this. Okay.
I can write them down if you want.
Oh, we got to get back into the swing of things.
All right.
It's easy once you get kind of in the groove. All right, so that's out of the way. And why don't we proceed right into the agenda? And the first presentation is from the Police Department. Chief, good to see you.
Good afternoon.
To be seen?
Okay, do you all have copies here?
I do.
Okay, and I have,
There's another packet there if you need one.
well, the extra one, I'll take it because I can make notes on it. Thank you. Well, Chief, you can go right ahead and lead us into the discussion about what
Which-
your needs are for,
Which request would you like to go over first?
it makes no difference.
The cruisers is fine. Last year, or I should say this fiscal year, we received 2 cruisers in capital improvement. I believe historically, it used to be 3-2-3, which means a request for 3 cruisers this year. If you want to just turn to the 3rd page, I believe, it will show that we decommissioned 3 cruisers in yellow. The one in blue, we had a total loss of a cruiser versus a deer, which I believe many people have had that this year.
Twice in my family.
Luckily, we were able to get full value for that through our insurance. I anticipate decommissioning 3 cruisers next year, all with well over 100,000 miles. The request is for a fully equipped Dodge Charger. We did explore the idea of maybe going to a hybrid. However, the hybrids are more expensive. I've spoken to a local chief. They've had some issues with the hybrids, more so than gas-operated ones. And the other reason is last year, this year, fiscal year, we have Dodge hybrids, and we want to be consistent with the cruisers that we get.
I see you have the appendix with the mileage on it.
Yes.
And which ones are the ones being replaced, the red ones with the height?
The ones in yellow are the ones that we would look at to decommission.
Okay.
The ones in red are the ones that we decommissioned this year, and the one in blue is the one that was collided with a deer.
You really put the miles on them.
We do. It's a big community, so we do put
Yeah.
the miles on them.
A lot of miles. Well, when we talk about the cruises, it's pretty easy to talk about because we know what they are, we know you need them, numbers speak for themselves. I don't think we want to take them to 200,000 miles. So this request is one we're familiar with.
Yes.
And I'll open it up for discussion among the members. Do you have any questions?
Not on the cruises.
Quick question, you got 29 that are not colored in?
Yes.
How many, you use them for reserve officers too, or what?
Well, those are from the take-home cruisers that we have. as well as the backup cars that we use for details that reserves come in when they request a cruiser for, the utility company comes in and requests a cruiser for detail.
Okay, they're getting more expensive, I guess.
They are. I mean, it's not cheap to fully equip a marked cruiser.
What's your timeline? How long does it take to get them once, well, it'll be approved at town meeting?
Yes.
in May, and when would you?
We will be,
delivery?
so we'll paid for this year and this fiscal year will be receipt of the 2 cruisers in the next couple of weeks.
It's from last year, right?
From the money that we paid out in this July, yes, for this fiscal year.
Yeah.
Last fiscal year.
Okay. Well, and you had a memo here that told us all about it. It reminded us that we have 147 miles of paved roads in this town.
But that's from the, yes, that's from the next request.
Yeah. Okay, any further comments on this request? Okay, we're pretty clear on that, and we can move right along.
So next request, I spearheaded along with Chief Baldwin. It's both, he has this, we have the support of him as well. We're looking to see if we can get a tractor, a multi-purpose tractor for both the parking lots and parking areas of the police and fire department. Basically, for smaller storms, we traditionally handle our own plowing in a small Kubota. We push the snow, however, we have to call back the highway department with a front-end loader to push the snow over the fence. Sometimes in the bigger storms, we need the highway department all the time. We have cruisers coming in and out, fire apparatus coming in and out, we have people showing up, so the parking lots and the entrance need to be maintained. When there's a west wind after a storm, we tend to get snow drifts along with the fire department, so we're calling back the highway department as well. So basically, I can just go over each image if it's easier for everybody, walk everybody through it. So image A, that's where the snow gets pushed to. As you can see, it's just a small area. That's when, after a storm, we contact the highway department, ask for a front-end loader to push the snow over. This is the image right here.
Yeah, we don't have
that.
A for some reason. No, no A.
That's okay.
We
I
have,
see where you are.
So
we're
as
good.
you can see, the snow goes there. We have to get a front-end loader from the highway department to push the snow over the fence. Image 1A, this is just the aerial vantage point of it. Image B is the Kubota that we currently use with a small plow that we can do only for small storms. But again, we have to call the highway department for the entrance portion of it as well. Image C is the front entrance to Sallyport area. Why I brought this in was because the bigger, I guess you say, apparatus that the highway department uses, it's tough to negotiate within this area, where a smaller tractor type will be easier to push the snow and move it away. Image D is the parking lot. Again, it's tough for the highway department to come in and negotiate in that area.
There were a lot of documents that were submitted with these requests, so I kind of.
Shortened it.
Saving on money, yeah?
Yes.
Image E is just showing the whole complex as to what needs to be maintained. Image E2 is also the same image, and E3 is also the same. The reason why it's not only multi-purpose, not only for snow, but this is also to maintain our lawn. Both the fire and police department have been, we've been responsible to maintain our own lawn. So by having a tractor with a lawnmower deck on it, it would save time rather than us having a zero-turn mower to negotiate, as well as a spreader for the winter with sand, so no one will slip and fall in the parking lot.
I always ask this in terms of priorities, what would be the priorities here? Would it be that, or the police cruisers?
The police cruisers would be more of a priority than this tractor.
Okay, questions, comments from the committee?
This might be for the fire chief, but we'd purchased a pickup truck with a plow last year with ARPA funds to
Yes.
plow.
Yeah, so the pickup truck with the plow is actually, it's very useful. It's a V-plow, gives us a little bit more opportunity to plow correctly and efficiently. The issue becomes we can't lift the snow. So even when we plow, especially along Hicksbridge Road to the corners, which is a lot of times when the snow accumulates, highway has to then come back, pick up that snow, carry it to another location. It's a hazard for police, fire, visitors leaving and entering Hicksbridge Road because your view is obstructed by the pile of snow. again, you're talking about, storms that are significant, and he's exactly right with the cemetery. The amount of snow that blows out of that cemetery and into the parking lot is unbelievable. Not only do we have to plow constantly throughout the duration of the storm, even when the storm is done, we find ourselves plowing again. So it's in terms of the plow that we got, it's an excellent addition. It's really cut down the time, the damage to the lawn, et cetera. But it has no mechanism for us to hit the bucket. We can't pick up and move, we just push. Right? That's really it's a multi-faceted request where we can maintain the lawn, et cetera. That was something the highway department used to do. They don't have staffing anymore. We've taken that over. To cut Station 1, the lawn is 5 hours. It takes us 5 hours to cut and move back. So we're hoping to reduce some of that time with the addition of proper equipment.
What would you be doing with this one? This is your old one, correct?
No, we'd be keeping it. That would be for the smaller,
Smaller
yeah, the small
areas?
swims to clean up. We need
Okay.
something, when we move cruisers around, we need something smaller to just push it in
Push
a
it
certain
around,
direction.
yep, a
Yes.
small area. Yep,
Yes.
okay, just making sure.
And also, that's multi-purposes. When it's not on the plow, we're using that for Pine Hill, for the fairgrounds, for the fair. We've had it before where hunters have fallen out of a tree.
Okay, yes, that makes sense, okay.
Okay, any further questions or comments on the Chief Dunn's material here? If not, I think we've got it, and we're ready to put it on the list and see how it shapes up
Sure, absolutely.
among the others. So,
Well, I appreciate the committee's time. Thank you.
thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You well.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is the fire department. Chief Baldwin is here. Others? Good to see you, Chief.
as well. I'm gonna be short and sweet this year. Maybe a change of pace for me, right? But I saw in big bold letters, I said 4:30 school, so I said, all right, they're sending me a message. That's okay. That's fine. Honestly, a lot of it's repeats. You guys, everybody on the committee has been here before, so you're probably already versed in some of our requests.
Yeah.
As I did state, I did break it down in 2 categories, operations and facilities. But before I do begin, I do want to thank the committee and the taxpayers for the brush truck that was awarded to us. We just signed the contract recently. We spent a couple months putting together what myself and the deputy believes is an excellent truck. We went through multiple vendors until we really honed in on the right one, the right price, and you're looking at a 25, 30-year return on investment for $268,000. So thanks again for your support on that. It's really needed, and we just saw it this past brush season, or unexpected brush season that we don't normally experience. So we appreciate that. We did put in a grant request through AFG, which I've stated numerous times is extremely competitive, for the fire engine, which is priority number 1, replace engine 5. We did not get it. I spoke with FEMA directly. They encouraged us to apply again. However, even though we think we're in tough shape, there are other departments nationwide trying to replace vehicles that are 40 and 50 years old, very rural communities that have taken milk trucks and turned them into tanker trucks. So we don't stack up that great in terms of that. We will apply again this year and just do our due diligence and hopefully, but there's a $70 million reduction in the AFG funding that's available this year. So they went from 360 to 290, making it even harder nationwide to acquire some of these AFG grants. So, but we will try. Again, we'll just put forth our number 1 priority is the replace engine number 5. It's a 1994 engine. It was originally in Foxborough, moved to Fall River, blew the motor. Westport rebuilt it, took custody of it. It's reached its end of life, has well over, I think, 5,000 hours. Inadequate space. Most of the safety lighting does not work on it anymore. When engine 3 or engine 4, which are our newer trucks, go out of service, even for simple oil change, which on those trucks, you don't go to Jiffy Lube, it takes about a day, day and a half. We're now shifting equipment and trying to squeeze it into a vehicle that just really doesn't have the space that we require nowadays. Our engines are structural on one side and heavy rescue on the other. Heavy rescue meaning motor vehicle crash, jaws of life, vehicle extrication, et cetera. So we're really packing a lot of equipment onto these trucks, and spaces are very important. Engine 5 does not provide that space. The unfortunate part of the conversation is the price is $950,000. I realize it's a big ask. I did talk to Mr. Hartnett about, was this the right form to present it? He wanted me to get it on the list and just put it out there anyway. I did speak with a couple of the departments and how they plan and budget for this. A couple of ideas that were thrown my way. I know last year we talked about Dartmouth, completely different structure of government and how they can allocate funds. We can't really follow their motto, but I will say this, a fire engine right now is taking 2 to 3 years to build. Payment is due upon delivery. One suggestion, and I know we can't predict the future and as to what free cash funds you'll have next year and the year after, but is to break up the payment into fragments, 300,000 one year, 300,000 the next, maybe 450. Again, I know these are big asks. Dollar-wise, I can't control that.
They don't ask for a down payment, like a 300,000 up front?
No, they will take a prepayment penalty, not a penalty, they will take a prepayment, which I believe helps in the long run, but you do not have to pay the balance in full until you take delivery.
That makes
So,
sense.
there's options. You know, I believe going to the floor of town meeting and asking for $1 million for a fire truck, you know, is gonna be, could be a tough sell. It's a big dollar amount. But again,
It's needed.
25, 30 years return on these vehicles. And truthfully, I'll say it puts us in an excellent position. We have a 14 and an 18 right now. 20 years, average life of service, 25, you start to put it in reserve, 30. It's not a written standard, but it is a recommendation of the National Fire Protection Agency. 30 years, you retire from service. We're at 31. By the time a new truck even comes in, we're 33, 34. Something happens to somebody on the end of one of those hose lines, we got some questions to answer. So it's a priority. And the great thing, I think, is we're not coming back asking for a fire engine for literally 20 years with our 14. So plenty of time to plan, plenty of time to prepare. Again, that's our number one priority. It's necessary. Engine 4 was in an accident, not our fault. It was T-boned by another vehicle on Route 6. It was out of service for 4 or 5 months. And we were running in this insufficient backup truck that's, older than half the guys in my department now, for 4 or 5 months, So it's needed, it's necessary, and I think the fact that it was a hand-me-down, also speaks to the fact that it's time for Westport to step up and purchase its own vehicle. Priority 2, again, just a rescue boat. We brought that up last year. Again, good relationship with the harbor master. We do have a jet ski, but as I've mentioned before, it allows us to rescue a victim, not multiple victims. And while the harbor master, has good control of the river, the ponds are always a concern for us. There's no docked vessels there, so a boat would be an asset. Replace car 5, so that's a 2010. It was former Chief Pelletier of the police department's vehicle. It is used as our training car and for our Westport Cares program. We were told by the Rob's Auto Care that the frame is in really tough shape. We have to do some welding work. We're kind of debating doing that, but it's a $3,000 expense, and both me and the deputy, we're not believers of throwing money at, just throwing money down the drain. So what we would like to do is replace that car. We would take the fire prevention officer car, which is used daily, Monday through Friday, doing inspections throughout town, move that into the training car's position, and then replace the FPO car. Again, I think it's a great plan. He's on the road generating revenue for the town 5 days a week. He's also another asset as a paramedic, so he responds to building fires, motor vehicle crashes, medical calls. And that we get 10, 15 years, 20 years out of some of our vehicles. So again, long-term investment. I cannot tell you exactly what type of vehicle we would get. Same page was done. We were looking at some hybrids. Part of me also thinks maybe a pickup truck might be a good option because for our line of work, it's very versatile. Throwing hose equipment, trailering things in the back, but the jet ski, I think it might be a better option for us. So we're just throwing that out there. I contacted a couple of vendors, and you're looking at fully outfitted radios, lights, $75,000 price tag. As I think we've proven, we've always do what we can to get below that number. So we would obviously work very hard towards coming in at less than that. The fourth option, which I was really hoping was going to be an option through the AFG, which is no longer a priority on their list, is a cascade system. The one at Station 1 was put in place when Station 1 was built, so that one's 16 years old, and the one at Station 2 is, give or take, 4 or 5 years older than that, so about 20 years old. So a cascade system is a air compressor that fills our Scott bottles with clean, breathable air for our firefighters. They're getting near replacement time. The one at Station 2, if it fails, it's out of service. we have to have this equipment. If we cannot fill our Scott packs, we are essentially out of service, okay? The equipment at Station 2, the motherboard is what they keep referring to. They keep saying, Chief, once that goes, you're done. This system's out of service. Of course, with every new system they come out with, there's more safety aspects. You are filling pressurized tanks, 4,500 PSI in a cylinder this big, has to be contained, et cetera. So there's some safety mechanisms. I will say that what we do have now is a safe system. We're not operating an unsafe system. We're just operating a system that is rapidly approaching its end of life. I did put in for 2, but that's something that we could also consider staggering. Maybe you do Station 2 1 year, the following year, or maybe give or take maybe a few years, you replace the one at Station 1, which is a newer one. But Station 2, if the committee, was to discuss this option and say, we understand the validity to it, but 2 is kind of a big ask, I would 1 for Station 2 would be great. But I think we're approaching that end of life.
And that cost would be?
It's roughly 75 a piece. Again, these are the numbers that you get from vendors when you call up and say, give me a quote. And some of this stuff can be whittled down. You're not gonna see, 50 grand taken off, but, you can whittle down some of these prices.
If that went out tomorrow, how long would it take you to replace it if you had the funds?
I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you that it doesn't sound, after talking to these vendors, it's not a year-long process. It sounds like it's pretty quick. So that's our operations part. The facilities, as you guys know, we maintain 2 buildings, 2 town-owned buildings. One of them's new, one of them's large, one of them's old, built in 1970. Still very functional for us. And the number one thing, and this is a priority, and the deputy chief is here today because he's kind of been working with the fuel company. I'll just let him speak briefly to it. But we have a fuel tank at Station 2 that was put in, I believe, when Chief Mata was here, so we're maybe going back 20 years. It's primarily used right now for the fire department. However, in times of storms, blizzards, and if these pumps go down, it's an alternative source for highway and police. Both, I've spoken with both of them. Even schools could jump into that. I don't know if they have their own pumps at the school system, but they could jump into that if they had to. Police and highway are definitely on board with the idea. It would be a keyed system, so we have fobs. We'd be able to track. There'd be better accountability. Right now, it's a padlock. Anybody can show up in the middle of the night, cut a padlock, and fill up their tank if they wanted to. There's no security. The readout on the pumps are so old, we can't even track the amount of fuel we're putting in the vehicles. And there's no spill protection, there's no DEP spill protection. And Dep, if you just want to just jump in and just explain what's happening with the tank right now?
So it's a Bolt tank, it's half diesel, half gasoline. And what's happening now is I had groups from Dependable Petroleum come out earlier this year, just to give us, an estimate on the tank and analyze it to see what his thoughts were. And right away, the tank is depreciated. And the bladder that sits in between, it's interstitial, it's in between the core and the outside has failed. And you can clearly see it. What's happening is we're getting water that's seeping into that space. And as it freezes, it's starting to push the outer jacket or barrier away. And now you can see, evidence of it leaking on the ground. So it's definitely at its end life now.
Yep, so we would definitely put that as a priority as far as facilities, and we view it as a townwide priority. While the fire department would probably continue to maintain the maintenance of the system and ordering of the fuel. I also think, even speaking with Chief Dunn, when his cruisers are in the north end, they don't have to leave their patrol area to come south to fuel up. They can just pop in there and fuel up. Same thing with the highway department. They can pop in there, fuel up. If during a big storm, they're plowing the north end instead of driving south, wasting road miles, wasting time, wasting fuel. So it's a fire department request, but I would say almost on behalf of the entire, all town departments that use fuel. And that is approaching, again, it's time. Again, replace windows and exterior trim at Station 2. We've done a little bit what we can out of the operating budget. The trim that was literally rotting off of the building of the garage doors for Rescue 2 and Engine 4, we replaced at the end of the fiscal year out of the operating budget with PVC. Looks really nice. Hopefully never have to replace it again. If we don't get any funding through the capital to replace windows and trim, we will continue to sort of piecemeal it. Front door's in really tough shape. Windows, again, no security, sash cords are broken, latches are missing, cracks in sills, cracks in windows. Trim, again, throughout the building was rotting. It's time to replace with an AZAC or a PVC. Again, you use AZAC and PVC, there's no painting, there's no maintenance, one and done. We did just paint the interior of the building, again, not a capital item, but we're doing what we can to maintain the building, make it livable for the members that live there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Hot water heater at Station 1, I put this on there, we walk around the station trying to just, cover everything, since me and the deputy got into our position since January. Hot water heater is 16 years old. It is a commercial hot water heater. They are expected to get a little bit more years out of your residential hot water heater, but 10, 15 years, it's time to start thinking about replacement. The last thing I want to do is walk downstairs and find a blown hot water heater at the fire station. Then that leads to bigger problems. It's I was shocked, I'll be honest, a $25,000 price tag. It's a ASME hot water heater, it must be a commercial standard. It is a 100-gallon hot water heater, so it's large. It's not your traditional, residential hot water heater. Obviously, we use hot water day in and day out at the station, cleaning deconning our trucks, deconning ourselves, fire equipment, et cetera. So that's something that is just on the deputy's eyes and my eyes is something that we need to get ahead of before it fails. To be without hot water for even a day would actually complicate things at the station. I'm going to be honest with you guys about number 4, Station 1 exterior siding. That's way under budgeted. The more I get into this position and learn and discuss and talk and read meeting minutes and see meeting minutes about what you've done here with the trim work in this building, 50,000 isn't going to touch it. Not even going to touch it. That was given to us by a private vendor, and as I learn, procurement rules and prevailing wage, that's not even close. But it's something that we need to look at. If the committee wanted to entertain it at some point, that's the other thing, is getting vendors to come down, find the time that want to come down and give you quotes. Sometimes it's a little hard. But it's something that we really need to look at. After speaking with Mr. Valcourt, I don't know if he's still in the committee and he's not here, but he had mentioned a couple of times that some of the building is beyond repair. Some of it's salvageable, but the south end is in tough shape. Weather, rain, sun, just takes a beating. It's I believe, a double dip shingle, supposed to be a 30-year shingle. You can already see wood. The stain is gone. So what happens now is water's infiltrating, and it just leads to other problems. So you need to stop it. So it may be something that we, if I know the committee meets several more times, I submitted this, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, that's not a right price. I can try and get somebody to come down to try and tighten up that number and just email it out to you guys for consideration. Even if it's just the south side, we say, hey, we start with the south side. And then I think the other part of it, though, is, you got to discuss, do we really want to stick with wood? I know they were trying to go for a certain look. I understand that look. I think it looks nice. But here we see the result. You put wood shingles on and walk away, and now you're already talking about replacing it 16 years later. It doesn't make sense to me. But I can tighten up that number if the committee would like, and just send a quick email. As you guys know, we always give a pretty detailed presentation. It's in your packet. I did talk to Paula Brown yesterday. She said it was emailed out. That's why I didn't bring handouts. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, I will step aside for the next.
One question on the siding. I don't know, is that anything that Diamond would consider doing?
They might.
It
It's
is.
a lot of siding.
It's a big job.
What about the windows and trim at Station 2?
Yeah,
So I did reach out to Diamond. I will reach out again. So Diamond did the boiler project for us at Station 2. Saved us a lot of money there, because that, again, was got a quote. Inflation kept ticking. You sit here in the fall, and then
Yeah.
town meeting, and then time to go. It's almost a year later, right? So Diamond helped out pretty significantly, reducing costs. Took a little longer than we wanted to, but we had some backup heating. We have mini splits from the old police station that are actually in the walls at Station 2. Without those, we would have kind of been in trouble, but they got us through it. I did talk to Diamond. I did put in a request for Station 2's windows and trim. I didn't hear back. I'll do a follow-up. They seemed interested, but I want to say they weren't able to tackle the project yet because they were still working at the cemetery. So are they done there?
Down at the cemetery, they're working up now at on Sanford Road at the American Legion.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Okay. So I can always reach out again?
Yeah.
And just say, hey, can you get us in the queue?
Yeah.
I did,
Yeah, Actually, if you stop by there and talk to the instructors, sometimes they have days where they can't work there and they're looking for some alternative smaller projects. But
that's actually how they kind of stopped in the fire station on 9/11 just to talk to us, and
Yeah.
we started talking about the heating system, and so we got a little bit of a rapport with there, so that's a good idea. So we'll
was
do
gonna
that.
say, and-
We'll do that.
The hot water heater, I know it's the expense of the heater itself, but again, the installation of it, I don't know if that's something they could help with, or,
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at the quote and see what the cost of the heater was versus the labor. You know, it's not as involved as the boiler at Station 2 was an involved project, you know.
With the fuel, have you thought about talking to, I know April's in and out, but about getting possibly on the same system that they're on with the key fobs and everything?
It would come with the same system.
Sharing everything?
Yep, from what I understand, it would be the same exact system. Key fob, tracked,
Yep.
yep, information would be sent, however that gets now, you know, from that pump to their office. It would be the same exact system.
Right, and then we'd split all the
Yep.
fuel, because right now, when you guys order fuel, you pay for the fuel.
Right.
Where the highway department, when they order fuel, we split it for everybody who uses it.
Mm-hmm.
So police, fire, COA, highway, everybody.
Yep.
So we could do the same thing
We do the
with
same.
Station 2.
When I suggested that we would order in the fuel, I didn't want to place the burden of the fuel tanks on somebody else. So my guys could go out and, it must track, I'm guessing the system must track how much fuel's in it, so they probably know when they have to come. Like right now, we have to call. There's like a clock, and we have to
Right.
match it up with a chart, and then you call and say, we need 250 gallons. But you're right, with a computerized system.
Right, and then
it
you
probably
could, like-
automatically calls.
Right, and just like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
if they deliver here, they deliver there, and just, yeah.
So it would be perfect.
Because they
again-
email me the bills, so
Yeah,
when
I-
they deliver here, I get the bill, and I'm like, oh, hey, we got a fuel delivery.
It's needed, it's definitely needed
Yeah,
up there.
yeah.
And again, just, I think I already spoke on it, but totally support Chief Dunn request for the tractor. I think it's offer a lot of, you know, options for us. The other thing I was thinking, numerous times we have to call the highway department to come out to brush fires, mulch piles that are burning, to pull them apart. We could actually do that ourselves now, instead of pulling them out from their duties. So it's not just maintenance of the building, there's actually other options. As he was sitting there talking, I thought of that. It's happened more than once where we've called the highway to come out with the front end loader, usually after hours, et cetera. We'd be able to do that on our own. We have members with hoisting licenses and things like that, work for Potters and stuff, so
Okay.
we would have qualified people, and those that weren't qualified, we would get qualified to operate the machine correctly. And that is all.
Any other questions? Chief Bolton, thank you.
Right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being
Thank
here.
you.
Have a good evening. I keep the heat warmer here than I do at my house.
Really, I'm cold.
This has been cold lately, huh?
I was gonna say,
He's
yeah.
warm, I'm cold.
Okay, we're moving right along. That was a useful discussion. The fire department and the police department do excellent jobs of pulling this material together, which is extensive. And we'll continue to review that in the context of the other requests. So next on the agenda are the Westport Community Schools. We have, in addition to Melissa, welcome, Melissa, we have
Sorry,
Aubin and
sorry for my lateness. 4 o'clock's really hard to get here.
Evan Genro and Tom Aubin. Everybody knows you, I think, but
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice to see everyone.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
go ahead as you see fit, and we're
I
here
just
to
wondering
listen.
how it feels, Richard, to sit there and not have enough money to meet all these demands.
Yeah,
It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
This is always
Not
an
as much fun
interesting
as I
meeting.
thought it would be, but maybe next year I can get somebody else to chair the committee, you know? They can worry, but, well, it's a townwide problem articulated in the capital five-year plan, and we get into that, and we realize there's at least $50 million in the five-year time horizon, and then we realize when the ink was dry, it was probably more than that. So I guess we're not alone. A lot of other towns have problems like this. I've talked to people, and they say, yeah, we're all kind of in the same boat. But, well, we do the best we can, and we'll soldier on, as they say.
That's it.
So let us know what you want to talk about.
All right,
We know it has to do with capital.
I'll just run down the list, and then we can get into some more detail there. So the first item in the packet is networking system integration, camera security locks, and doors. So this would affect all of our buildings, locks and IDs in the middle high school, cameras at the elementary school, merging the surveillance systems in all the buildings. Also, security for automatic doors in a foyer area at the Macumber School. That's I believe the only school right now without a holding area in the building. So in other words, the front door, you can just kind of walk right into the building. So those are security requests there. Of that, 235,000, 60 of that roughly is for the video system, 20 of that is for the locks and ID scanners at the middle high, 55 is for the cameras at the elementary school, and then the remainder is for the last piece at the Macumber School.
This is treated as one
Correct,
package?
right,
Yeah.
right.
So there's no cameras at the elementary school, or the?
There are cameras there. Do you wanna-
Yeah, just that they're not, first of all, there isn't enough of them, and that they're not integrated with all the other schools. The idea, from a security perspective, both from school, but also public safety, is to have them all integrated so they can be accessed.
Yeah.
The next item on our list is,
Wait, I'll just ask.
Sorry, yeah.
If they have any comments on this item before it leaves our consciousness. I hope it won't.
No, I think I'm good on that one.
You have a question? I'm sorry?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
Sure. The next item is AC installation. Part of that would also require some upgrades to the electrical system over at the elementary school. So this is also, as Mr. Brewer, you point out, we do have a capital plan for the town. This is one of the items that are referenced on the capital plan. The Macumber, a similar project was, there was some funds allocated there from the state this past year. So that project is 2 years, so that project is underway. And this would be for the elementary school portion of that, so we're estimating that at about $700,000.
If I may just.
Project. Sure,
and
yeah,
again,
absolutely.
part of this has to do with the fact that there's two things going on. It's a confluence of things. One, obviously, there's some type of climate change going on. I don't want to get into, why, but clearly there's something happening to the climate, requiring our schools to be a little bit more conditioned than they would have been maybe 20 years ago. I think the other piece to that is the fact that school now is a 12-month endeavor. And we, for the most part, use most of our schools all summer in one way, shape, or form. So I think when we take a look at priorities in terms of things that actually will impact teaching and learning, I think the condition of the building plays a critical role in that.
But there are also, I had a conversation with the state and some other school committee associations, and increasingly, temperature is becoming an issue of collective bargaining in work environments. So that's one of the things that a lot of school districts are looking at on the horizon as an issue. So this is, in addition to what Tom mentioned, also in the summer, we're also seeing this year, I know, for example, we had a lot of days in September that were quite warm. And I can tell you, just walking in the building for a couple of days in September, it gets pretty good parts of the building.
Especially in
So,
that area
yeah.
of the west, south, and the, living at the east end, it gets very good too.
Right,
This is where it's too warm, you're saying?
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Okay, I think we understand that. Any questions on that item? Continue on.
All right, the next is so our playground at the Macumber School. So this would involve removing and replacing the playground that's currently there. This would also include special education equipment to meet compliance as well. So this would be updating, a lot of the equipment there is old and outdated, and so this would be also a safety, there's a safety portion to this as well. So we're estimating that at roughly $325,000 for that project. Add to that.
No, I mean, we ran into that even at the west, before we put the new playground in. We had a faculty member who was trying to find someone to manufacture something for our special education kids so that they could have access to the playgrounds themselves. And luckily, we got a new playground, so that became a moot point, but still exists over at the MAC. That, again, these things were built with a different philosophy
Yeah.
in mind, that's all.
Right.
When were they built?
This is the Mac,
He hasn't been here that long.
No, the playground? No, it was in pretty good condition about 30 years ago. I go according to my son's age.
That's a good benchmark to use, absolutely. Absolutely.
So on that, right, the town's looking to do the bicentennial playground. Is there a possibility, and I think I know the answer to this already, but I'll ask it just so you can get it out there, because people have asked, can you use that playground as part of the school as well, instead of building two playgrounds?
I mean, I would love to if it had the accoutrements necessary to take care of the kids. So,
I
that
know
was
it's
something
kind
that
of-
the town would be looking into. I would certainly be wanting to get some of the leadership meeting with the government officials to talk about how we would go about doing that.
It raises other issues as to, you know, you close it off for the public and just for the schools, and how close it is to the school.
Well, we saw what happened with the tennis courts, and, you know, even that became an issue with our kids using it while the public wanted to use it, and that's why we came up with a plan that we run through rec, and we're able to let the public know when it's open. So, no, you're absolutely right.
Melissa?
So it would be good to have something like that. I think the major issue, one, would be safety, because we wouldn't be able to have the public in at the same time. So, you know, you think about the preschoolers who might be using it. So you could say, okay, we'll use the one on Main Road. That being said, this is in the north end of Westport. There might be issues with transportation and, you know, other reasons why they specifically use that area. That's why we have two. And then where it's located, right? So it would have to be located close to the school in order to have time, because the kids only have a certain amount of time in which they get to go to recess, so they wouldn't be able to walk to where it is now. What might be good is if they're looking at doing something at that playground, is to maybe do something with bulk, right? So maybe you purchase all of the equipment at once, but it's put in two different locations, and then maybe you do have some that are, you know, maybe some of the bigger things at the town one or something, but I don't know. Just a thought.
What if the town built their playground on the school property and it was used there, and then the town could use that after hours? Is that?
I mean, that's what we're doing right now over at the middle high with the tennis courts. That being said, the time, if out-of-school time is gonna be there, and they're currently there right now, they have a site, they're operating until about 5:30. So, it's just food for thought.
And then you also have the summer. We have students that are there in the summertime.
OST.
So they wouldn't be able to use it in the summer, too. It's almost like, you know, I'm sure students, I mean, I'm sure the public can use the Macumber School when nobody's there, because who's going to stop them because nobody's there?
All right.
Okay. I was going to ask, on some of these, you have like health requests, and there's an equity request. Is there significance to that we should know about?
No, I think it was just a way to sort of categorize the
Uh-huh.
different, yeah, the first batch, I guess, is more safety, and then this is on the health side. So it was just when the committee had originally discussed this, it was just a way to sort of categorize.
Okay, seems to make sense. I was just wondering if it's
Sure.
something more than just the title.
So if I could just speak to that, that was, when we were talking about it in the committee, that was one of the things that I thought might be helpful for this committee to know. You know, why are the schools deeming this as to be necessary? Like, what priority are we putting it in, and why? And those were the reasons that they're needed, so that's why
Okay,
I think we decided to do that.
I think that's useful, in my view.
Yeah.
Okay?
Next two items in your packet are some bigger ticket items, but they're also, at least one of them is on the town's capital plan as well. We know, depending on what will happen with the old high school, there'll be a space issue. We have some admin there. We have an out-of-school time program that's operating out of there. The school department also uses the athletic fields on that site. So obviously, depending what happens there, we're looking to plan ahead. So in the capital plan, it's also listed as $5 million, but for administrative offices, this would also include elements of family engagement, like our out-of-school time program is currently providing. So if that space is needed, that's the estimated cost there, which reflects what's in the capital plan as well. The other item, on a similar note, depending on what happens with that building, and if we're able to access the fields, this would be for fields at the campground. So the last estimate for the cost when the property was under the select board at the time, they had done a sort of a rough analysis and estimate there, and it was below this, but we sort of increased it because this was over 3 years ago now, so roughly in the neighborhood of $8 million for fields at the campground, similar to what the initial project had looked at when they had done a report a while back on that, and so this is sort of including those items, but increased for inflation over the last few years, so.
Okay. So the earlier one here on the top is the Early Childhood Center, et cetera. Is that completely linked to the fate of the old high school, or is this a standalone thing that's?
Well, I think it's both. I think if there was a building in itself that were separate that the school department was able to use, then we could expand use there into other areas like early childhood and, you know, a more dedicated family engagement component to it. Right now, that's sort of done through our out-of-school time program, which is a sort of before and after-school care program, which has seen increased enrollment even in that. So we're utilizing the space of the old high school, which is currently working, but depending on what happens with the building, you know, this would certainly impact
Yeah. And how much?
space, because there's concerns with space in the building. There's clubs and events happening after school that would be
Right.
difficult for our out-of-school time to accommodate certain space, so.
And how much space are you using now? For the
So there's, in the old building, when you walk in, sort of the corridor to the left is taken up by the out-of-school time, and they use
Yeah,
the
gymnasium.
gymnasium area as well.
Yeah.
And admin is still in the same wing that they were in previously. A few had moved over this year, but there's still administrative offices in that
Business office.
part of the building. The business office is still over there, so.
All right, questions, comments?
Yeah, this first one is for the building itself. Where would that building be located? At,
We were actually thinking about on the side of the MAC. if
That's
we
what I
didn't have
thought
a
I had heard. Okay.
campground. A few years back, Mike Duart actually, I forgot who he had do a site test, but you could build over there from what we understand.
okay.
Because
And-
we'd actually thought, I'm sorry, Sue,
Yeah.
that, we'd actually looked to Diamond to see, they didn't have a house building project that year. I think the project was a little bit too big, and I think they were in anticipation of possibly having a house building project going forward. So they've got one this year, but I don't have any problem reaching out and seeing if that's something that they would want to be interested in. But again, like I was saying, Evan, the thing about Diamond, when they have projects, if the union is involved, for example, the plumbers union will only allow, or they typically would only allow, one project per year. So when they had a house, that
Yeah.
precluded anything else from
Yeah,
taking place. So that's just a consideration. I don't know if that's changed over time. I mean, I haven't been there since 2019. So
okay.
I don't, remember, but the union was an issue back in the day.
All right. And then the second one, it says the new structure here again. Is that the 8 million for both the building and the fields, if you were to do that, or the 8 million is just for the fields at the campground?
Just for that site at the campground, yeah.
And again,
I-
so
I
that's
believe that may have been a miss.
back of the envelope number.
Yep.
The feeling was that, we need to plan for this because, it's an equity issue from my perspective.
If I recall correctly, when the previous report was done, I believe in 2021, that figure was just under $6 million.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it sounds about right. Okay. Any questions on anything we've covered so far?
And if I could just give you a little background, the early childhood is a huge piece because, as many of you know, we have students who get tested as early as, 2 years, 9 months for learning disabilities. And what we're finding is more and more of them are coming with those disabilities. And if you can tackle them earlier, there's a better chance of not having to pay for them later, because they're always more costly later. The family engagement piece is sort of a trend that is happening nationwide. The opioid crisis, although it seems to be getting a little bit better, has decimated families. And so what's happened is a lot of grandparents and other caretakers are now taken care of without the requisite tools. So the idea was putting together a family engagement place together where parents could come in, whether it's, getting, support from CFC or academic support or whatever, that center would be a community asset, for lack of a better term.
Sounds like
Okay.
a great idea. Okay, that helps on a number of these requests, so
And the.
where are we now?
We're at the lighting for the current fields at the new school. So this was not included as part of the building project, but
Well, it was, but it was probably, I don't know, was it vetted out, Jim?
You know, I don't think it was ever in.
That's amazing. Anyway.
So,
You need the lights, I think.
Well, I mean, just to give you some perspective, we started a tournament game at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because we had to make sure that the game ended before the sun went down. You know, a lot of families didn't get to see their kids play.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a good outcome.
well, and if you're in a situation where it goes into overtime and then you're running up on the,
Oh, yeah.
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 People will be
we
out
were lucky, one of our
flashlights.
tournament games was a midday on a weekend, but if that were scheduled on a weekend, it would be a different situation. I know, especially later in the, as it gets later in the year, last year when our soccer team was on their tournament run, I was at some of the games at other districts, and it was already dark out by the time you got to before the game started, so. But there was one game that we had last year where we had some lighting equipment donated to the school department, and there was a significant community interest in that, so it was good to see. So this would, of course, support lighting for the
I mean,
fields.
yeah, the thinking would be a community issue, Friday lights.
Friday night lights.
Lights,
You know.
yeah.
Excuse me just for 1 second. I apologize.
Okay.
I was gonna say, the lights, I remember going to the ball field and watching games under the lights, you know, baseball games and stuff. It's nice.
Okay. Well, we know Tom had to leave for the moment, but you can continue on if you wish.
Sure. The last item we have on the list is generators at both the Macomber School and the elementary school. So I know the staff has been working with the energy consultant to look at grants and ways to support this. It's also part of the town's plan because we know the middle high school was just designated as one of the emergency centers, so, you know, if one of the other buildings are as well, and the generators are up to date, that could be also provided to the community as a potential emergency center, so. Anything to add on the generators, Tom, or?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that I'm participating, I'm a member of an organization that involves transitioning natural gas to electric. This is sort of just a general comment. We really need to keep an eye on what's going on here, because I think as the government is asking, I think there's a big push to electrify everything at this point. And my concern is that, I mean, just our own buildings with the natural gas, the cost to transition from just gas to electric would be overwhelming. And it looks like that's the direction they're trying to go into when they're trying to figure out how to go about doing this. So that, the generation, the reason I mention that is most generators are natural gas. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
They are.
it just,
And just to add to that too, I was at a meeting of the State School Committee Association, and one of the things that they're pushing on districts now, because they're seeing some of the regulatory environment with the state, what's on the horizon there, is energy assessments. So a lot of districts now are pursuing energy assessments that are offered through Mass Save and other organizations. But because of exactly what Tom said, there's a significant shift that way. So they're urging a lot of communities to stay on top of that as
Yeah.
those things go
Yeah,
on the pipeline.
It's a big item. Okay, any questions or comments on any of the material from the schools?
Just one priority. What are you, we obviously don't have enough money to fund everything.
Right.
So-
Is that right?
We're closed.
So the committee discussed prioritization, and from what I recall, Melissa can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was the safety piece first, so the networking item, that's on the first page, followed by the air conditioning, electrical upgrades at the elementary school and the Mac playground. Those were the three top priority items.
so pretty much in the order that you
Correct.
put them down.
What was the third one, Evan?
The third would be the
Playground.
playground at the
Playground
Mac
at the
School.
Mac. Replacement.
I just can't write fast enough here. Okay, any further questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll have at
I
it.
see you, but if I don't for some reason, have a great holiday.
You too.
You too, enjoy it.
We will. One way or the other, we will.
Sure, we'll see you.
Thank you. Good night.
Yep, good night.
Being here.
Sorry to put you on last there, Ben, that wasn't my intent.
Thank you for your patience,
No problem.
Beverly. I think everybody knows you, and
Oh, I
you don't
think
need an
so.
introduction.
How are you?
Beverly
Good, how are
Bish,
you?
of the
Good, thank you.
Council on Aging.
I don't know what order you have things in, so, the first one that I have is the interior painting, 6,000 to 7,000. We haven't done any interior painting in, I don't know, 20 years.
It's not even
Yeah.
on here. I don't see painting. Do you see painting?
It looks like this.
E1.
It's got this on here.
It's
at the
after
top.
the last school request on the back page.
On the back page, I
D1?
don't know.
D1, D2.
Is it just an estimate, or would you actually fill out the form?
No, I had the estimate, and I filled out the form. The
D4.
form's on the top and the estimate's through the middle. But anyway, that was just, I just
I don't
put it
have
on, I just put it on there. It's I put $6,000 to $7,000 was his estimate. I got an estimate from Matthew Vaz, who did some painting for us before. And I'm just hoping maybe I'll get the Friends to pay for it, but I just wanted you folks to know that it might be on our list. And that was like for the next year.
Was it in here?
Yeah, I don't. Because I have the top part of it, I put the estimate right through the middle of the form.
I may
So
have-
maybe it didn't-
I may have
maybe it
missed it.
just-
I
yeah.
copied the forms and I didn't,
Oh, maybe because
Maybe
it
that
looks
looked
like
like
the
an
estimate,
estimate, I
maybe
kinda
that's
left
why.
it.
Yeah, I don't have any, I don't have it on any
Yeah, me
form,
either.
so, yeah. Okay,
It's okay.
that's my little one anyway, so. This, I don't know if this is the second one, but 14-passenger wheelchair van. I did just apply to DOT using their Grants Plus software, which is horrible. It's the worst, it's the worst. And that $85,000 now, you can cross that out and put $117,000 because that was the van cost. They've really skyrocketed. And the other thing is now the Fed's only asking for a 15% match instead of 20% match, and I think that's because of the cost. So they said if I do get the van through DOT, if they will pay for it, our cost would be $17,550, unless we added some extra things to it, and it wouldn't be delivered until June of '26. That would be when, so I just put that in, I think, a week and a half ago. The 2014 Ford Elcott has over 135,000 miles. So we have the 2014, the 2018 Ford Phoenix, which are both either 12 or 14 passenger vans. We have a 2021 Ford 8-passenger, and that one I got during COVID, and we didn't have to pay any match, it was free. Somebody bought it, and they couldn't use it, so they asked if anybody wanted it. I said, I'll take it. So we got that, so we didn't have to put any match in for that. And then we have a 2014 Honda Odyssey minivan and a 2015 Dodge Caravan, and the Dodge Caravan is wheelchair accessible. Actually, that only had 3,000 miles on it when we bought it, and I had some capital improvement money left over from the 2018 van, and the Friends paid for the rest of it too, so it's all been paid out. The 2014 Honda Odyssey has 84,000 miles on it. We just did some work on it because I was told that it's still in really good shape, and Honda's a good brand, and everybody loves that van, so they said there's no rot on it. Please do this. So we spent like $2,500 or $3,000 on it. So we got that, but we are really in need of a newer van, so I did put that application in for that. And we are seeing more and more use of the vans for our supportive day program, 3 days a week, for people coming into the center. Today, we had an event at White's with our Stroke Buddy Support Group, and the DA Tom Quinn did a presentation on con squads and victimization, and we picked up 6 people, I think, in our vans to come to the event. So we're doing a lot more with our transportation and with our vans.
Nice.
Okay.
Any questions on the van? Straightforward. And by the way, the amount of miles you have in this town is 160 miles.
Oh,
And there's
so-
only 6 miles of public transportation on Route 6.
because I had to put that number together. So I know exactly, it's 160 miles of roadway in Westport, through Westport, and 6 miles of public transportation only on Route 6.
I have a question. Why is it going to take so long? 2000,
That's always the way,
26,
that's always
wow.
the way they do it, yeah.
Okay.
By the time they do, what the state does is they get everybody's application, and they might buy, I don't know, 2,000 vans for the whole state. So it takes a little while for the companies to build them, to put them together.
Yes, sure.
And then they pick them all up, they deliver them. And they deliver, I don't know, like 200, 300 at a time. And then they, bring them out to us. So
Okay.
it takes, but they do, I don't know, I don't think they do it every year. I don't think they've done it in the last couple of years because of COVID, but they're doing it again, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, you can move on.
We put in, and I still know we have the $60,000 for parts and labor for our elevator repair. Due to COVID, we haven't really replaced anything. And I just put an estimated cost at $85,000. It's old, and there are no replacement parts for it anymore. So what they would need to do is replace the electrical system, the circuit board, which is basically the brains of the place, the brains of the elevator. And if that breaks down and goes, we definitely have to replace that, so, because we use both upstairs and downstairs, constantly. We're in that elevator all the time, for supplies and for people, and we have offices downstairs, so, and we have our tech group downstairs. So I know we already have the 60,000 that had already been allocated for it, so there's just an additional, I put in 25,000 just for that.
Okay. Did we skip something?
Yep,
Even
I don't
parking
know
lot.
what order you have it in.
Oh, yeah, the parking lot.
Parking
Oh.
lot.
The parking lot repaving. I just put that in there because I thought there's probably by 28, 29, we're probably going to need that to be repaved because we have a lot of the cracks that are sealed and everything, and I figuring by that, it's probably going to be used. There are days when we have parking lots full, and when Potters is busy, the overflow comes to us, and when we have an event, we go to Potters for the parking lot, so we kind of share the parking lot and the for parking. And I did, we have 70 spaces, 300 square feet per car, and I did it at $4.50 per square foot, depending if that goes up. That was the 94,000. It went from 450 to, I think, like 750 per square foot. I just got that off the internet. I didn't know how else to figure it out. It's like, okay. But that seemed pretty reasonable, so.
Okay. Next one is what
The
Floor
floor.
replacement? The floor hasn't been, actually, we've been doing pretty good with the floor, but at some point, it's going to need to be replaced, because we did a lot of exercise in there, and it's really tough on the tiles that we have, and it's old. I do have KTR, shout out to KTR, cleaning company. They come in and they clean my floor, they reseal it, they get it all done for us, and it really comes out very, very nice. So we've been able to maintain it. I also have extra tiles from the tile company, from ABC Flooring, and if some of them are cracked, we can peel them up and pick them up, and then re-glue them down and do that. So we've been doing that over the last couple of years to make sure that we can keep the floor as long as we can. But I know it's gonna be needed in a few years. It gets a lot of use. We get a lot of use. So we have exercise classes in there every day, just about every day, and the days that we don't, we have support day program in there, really, the chairs and the walkers and the tables and the, aerobics and the bouncing around. There's a lot of activity that goes on at the senior center.
we know that.
Yes.
Okay, any questions or comments on that?
So I notice you have your funding years listed here, so the only thing that you're possibly looking at funding on is the painting?
Yes, because the funding year for the van is going to have to go on I believe it's going to be 26, because, I believe.
The van would be fiscal 26?
I think so. They do it, they deliver it, they say they're going to deliver it in June of 26, we have to have the check ready. for June of '26, but last time they were supposed to deliver it in June. The last 2 times, they delivered it in July. So, you know, you're talking about just a,
So that'd be this year.
Right,
So that
this-
would be,
so it would
that
be
would be
fiscal
fiscal
26.
26.
Yeah.
You got fiscal
You've got
27.
on here.
okay.
So that would be something you're looking at.
Yep.
What about the elevator?
The elevator, we have 60,000 now already put on the side. We did that a while ago, and if it goes, we need it now. That's gonna be the one that we would need the 25, so.
So both of
If I
those,
have priority,
26.
if I have priority, I would do elevator, van, floor, and parking lot.
How much more do you need for the elevator?
We need 25,000 more. I would also go to my friends group too, to see, because the friends, you know, the friends have money to pay, and we haven't really asked for a lot. I usually try to only use them as my safety net, but I, you know, if we needed that, I could put that in. Just so you know, the Thursday, the week before Thanksgiving, I was supposed to be going on vacation, and a lady came in and asked me if I had need for $30,000 to $50,000 from their foundation, and I said, sure, why not? And she said, well, we need a 501c3 to apply for it. I said, well, that would be my friend's group, and she said, but we need it right away because we have to do it soon. So I said, okay, so that's what we did Friday and Monday and Tuesday. So I applied for $10,000 for transportation, $10,000 for supportive day program, and another $8,000 for a new commercial refrigerator and a small freezer for the kitchen. So if I don't get that, sometimes I ask for the friends. So if I'm hoping to get that, and then I could ask for this for the friends, because sometimes they pay for things like that, so. But I think I'm almost up to $350,000 in grants since '21.
Congratulations.
So I did a lot of grant writing, and I have one more due
A
December.
lot of work.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm.
Thank you.
I keep sending Nicole things, and she says to me, did you
get-
do another one?
I was gonna say, you get a lot of little ones, those are the tough ones.
Yes.
Yeah,
They seem to
But this-
require so much.
They still have a
they
lot.
require a lot of paperwork, and
Yeah.
it's only a small amount of money.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I know we're a SNAP partner, and we're lucky if we get like, $1,000, $1,500, but it adds in because my whole outreach program is paid for by grants, and we wouldn't have that outreach program if I didn't have my ARAW grant or the SNAP or the formula grant, so, you know, we're trying to do that and work on that, so,
Well, thank you for what you do.
thank you.
thank you. Do you have any other further comments?
Questions?
Councilor Ivey?
no,
No? Thank you, and I'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Absolutely.
Okay, and Jim, I guess this is the last item, IT, and you've got 2 items here, I think.
Actually, it looks like this says the same on both pages.
Yeah, just one.
So it's just one
Oh, it's only one?
request.
Okay.
Yeah, so Keith could not make it today. He said he might be able to dial in, but we didn't have it set up for dial-in, so. I said I would run it by, and if the committee had questions, he'd attend the next meeting if needed. But he's just looking for he's looking for $85,000 to reconfigure the servers so that he would have a duplicate type configuration. So if the server goes down, it would transfer over to the other one. We're running more and more things off our server, all the phones, all the computers, you know, fire department, police department. So if one goes down, this would transfer it automatically over to the other one. We've had pretty good luck, I think, not luck, but we've been in pretty good shape the last year or so. We haven't had much downtime on anything, but this would ensure that it just switches over if one of them did go down. So
Okay.
that's where we are. He's looking at $85,000.
I was gonna say, I know there was one day that it seemed like the computer went down for some reason, this was a while ago, and everybody's looking at one another these days without their computer going, what can we do now?
All right, time to go home.
Without your
That's when you
computer,
look
you're
at the
lost.
pile of filing and you go, now I know what I can do today.
Okay, any further questions on that? Okay. Well, we have our work cut out for us, don't we? And Tom is right, it's challenging to see what we have, but the capital plan, as I said, lays it out as to what our problem is, and we deal with it as best we can. So, The next item, we've already approved the minutes. We have this traditional topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance. That gives us time if something came up late. I don't think we have that today, Jim. But you can tell me
I have nothing.
otherwise. The next item is for a little discussion, and I said, Melissa, before you came, that we needed to discuss not only the date and time, but the question of whether we should have this meeting on a different day. I meant to say day here, and I said date, so it sounds like the usual, but Melissa asked me to consider discussion with the committee because of her schedule, which makes it difficult to get here on Thursday. That's in
Right.
a nutshell.
Yes.
And I started to think about this, and I don't really recall the reasons for doing it on Thursday in the first place. I do recall at one time we were doing it on Wednesdays, and then there was maybe something popped up and we had to go to Thursday, and we stayed with that, and everybody liked it. But I don't even recall, but you maybe have a better recollection on that, or yourself, or anybody else here. I don't know if earlier in the week is problematic. It's not for me. I mean, even if it's on a night when I have another meeting, that usually wouldn't start till 6, like a select board meeting, although I prefer not to do it on a Monday, but then the select board doesn't meet every Monday. I mean, it's just one of these things that you can tweak it 15 different ways. But let me ask, Melissa, in your case, what's the, what days can you make it, generally speaking? knowing the
Sure,
numbers
right.
here and there.
So, one, the time is really difficult. If it could be 4:30, and I think for some reason we had it at 4:30 at one time. And then I would say either Tuesday or Wednesday would work. Our school committee meetings are on Tuesdays, but they don't start till 6. So I'm looking at, right, 6 o'clock on Tuesdays usually? Unless we have special meetings, yeah. But yes, I think that, I mean, Wednesday, I guess the Wednesday would probably be the best, but I think Tuesdays could still work. And Mondays too, but Mondays are hard for people because Mondays would work for me, but it might be harder for other people.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of stuff that pops up on a Monday, not just for me, but for others.
Right.
When does the finance committee meet? Tuesdays?
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays, yeah. Well, so it's a two-part idea, maybe Wednesday and maybe 4:30. In terms of the day of the week, again, we used to have it on Wednesdays at one time, and that was fine with me, and it was, I think, for most others, but I don't know what everybody's circumstances are here, so can I open up for discussion, get a sentiment one way or another? Do we?
As, Wednesdays are fine with me. I think Wednesdays are better than Tuesdays. I know it's only like once a month that we have landing commission on Tuesdays at 4.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm on that as you are, and well, I'm not there, as a
Yeah.
official member of the liaison, but we can always probably work
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, I'm thinking we
And
could.
we don't, this committee doesn't meet every week, so they might
No.
intersect, but then we could,
That's the only thing I have on Tuesday. Either day is fine with me.
So Wednesdays in here, they also, long-term building committee and the infrastructure oversight committee usually meets on Wednesdays, and the Affordable Housing Trust meets on Wednesdays as well. So we just have to pick our days if we're gonna choose Wednesdays to.
so it can be done, but we just have to work around that. Is Tuesday then a better option? I don't know what
I think
Carol
for
that
this
is.
room, yes, I think Tuesday's a better option.
Okay. It's fine with me, too.
And to me, the earlier the better, but I guess we could do 4:30, so.
Well, this may not be forever, we try it on.
I don't think there's gonna be a lot of meetings.
Only a
right?
couple more
We're looking for a few
meetings.
more
Well, yeah, we don't have a lot of meetings to
Yeah,
begin
so
with.
we're
I mean,
good.
this-
4:30 works.
Unlike a lot of meetings, Ronnie, this has a half-life, it ends
Mm-hmm.
ends up going to recommendation in February, and then it ultimately appears on
So
the,
I'd be good 4:30 Tuesdays if that works.
That works
We
for
can make
me.
that work.
okay. All comfortable with
Yeah,
that?
that's
Yeah,
fine
thank
fine with
you.
me.
The vote, we
Yes.
just have
I'm good.
consensus on that one, because
Thank you.
it's totally procedural.
Thank you.
So Tuesdays at 4:30. Okay, now, the more simplistic question is, maybe it won't be as simplistic, is the next meeting. So, thinking this might be a Thursday, I was thinking of not having the meeting 2 weeks from now, but just going over, and be, after that, it would be the first full week in
It
January,
would be the
whatever the date is.
7th, right? January 7th,
I think that
the
was.
first Tuesday in January.
Yeah, now, I thought that that might work out okay, but there's still a week here, like 2 weeks from now, or 2 weeks from Tuesday, is whatever the date is there, but that's the week before Christmas, and that does, I'm not suggesting we have it on the week of Christmas. Or am I wrong
I
about
was
that?
going to say this, the 10th, the 17th, and then the 25th, if I'm,
Well, no, the 24th, but we only have a half a
24th.
day.
yeah, 24th is out,
24th,
we're not
the
going to
building will be
meet.
I
closed
think
at
the
noon.
7th of January may work. We're not going to have a lot of information. We may not know what we have available
Okay,
until probably the end of January, so
okay.
if we had one meeting before that to kind of go over some of the, recap everything and maybe prioritize some of the thing. And then
Okay.
towards the end of January, I think we'd have a number as to how much is available.
Yeah, and how much, in terms of presentations, do we have a lot more to do off the top of your head?
That's pretty much it, unless we want somebody to come in and recap.
Yeah, okay. All right, so January 7th, it's not on that calendar, that's December. That's a Tuesday, that's,
That's a
So
Tuesday.
interestingly,
You
I'm not available on the 7th,
okay.
but I could make myself available on the 9th because I'm not going to be available on the 7th, which is a Thursday. I'm like away, like I'm not
Yeah, no,
here. Do you know what I'm saying?
These things,
So we want to do the 9th,
The 9th,
January 9th?
well,
January
yeah,
9th, that's fine.
that's fine with me too, and
4:30?
that's what I was thinking of initially. But we would still then, after that, prefer the Tuesdays.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
go
if we
back to
could, yeah.
Tuesday.
If we could, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
Don't feel bad.
Do Tuesday, no, do Thursday, no, do Tuesday.
This is
Thank
not-
you
this is-
all.
This is not our
Okay.
biggest
So
problem.
then-
I know, I wish it was too.
All right, so the next
January
meeting, although we will go into in the future, a Tuesday idea of 4:30, the next meeting will be Thursday, January 7th, that is? No, 9th.
January
Yeah,
9th.
January 9th.
Thursday, January 9th at 4:30?
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, that works for me. I mean, I'm flexible here.
I'm here,
Yeah.
and Sue and I and Jim are here anyway, so.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
long
I'll just,
stroll from the office.
Yep.
yeah, I'll have to make sure we get the word around to the others that are here today. But that all works. That's all.
Okay, great, thank you.
I think you'll be there.
We're interviewing.
And, okay, so
She's got,
that completes our work.
she's got an associate. in
This is part of the discussion, or?
No, I'm sorry. we're
No.
getting
Oh,
off
okay.
track.
Off topic.
I wasn't going to cut you off, I just didn't. I didn't want to hold up the adjournment for too long. All right, well, that does complete our work today, which is quite a bit, and we have a lot to think about. But we've got some time between the next meeting, maybe to think about it some more. And Jim, maybe you can tell us where all the money's coming from and figure something out for us, and that'll be a Christmas,
Yeah, I will work on kind of summarizing the list.
yeah, that would be helpful. Okay, and I'll get the minutes prepared for the next meeting.
Okay.
And with that,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.